Hello everybody, it has been a while, but I finally got something to do a video on. Today we're going to take a look at the Artti R1. Now in the past I did a video on the Artti T10. Absolutely love that thing. Ugly IEM, but just amazing sound, amazing value. And the R1, it's been out for a while now. It is something that I have been interested in for a long time. I didn't get a chance to actually give it a listen until I want to say 2 weeks now. Maybe a little less, but it's gotten a lot of heavy use. I've been using it at work, walks, just casual listening. I mean, in that week and a half, 2 weeks, I put a lot of hours into this thing. Made a lot of comparisons. The few noteworthy ones I will discuss in this video, but for right now we're gonna just dive into the unboxing part. If I'm not mistaken, this has a retail MSRP of, what was it, $74.99, $69.99, somewhere around there. So it's kind of like mid-budget, like sub-$100 budget range, whereas the Artti T10 was like sub-50 if I remember. I think I paid like $45 for that. Now, unlike the Artti T10, which was a planar magnetic IEM, this one is a triple dynamic driver IEM. I believe it's 2.6 titanium dome drivers and one 8mm beryllium coated driver. And if I'm not mistaken, the 8mm beryllium does the low end, and then they split up the other two for mids and highs. It's supposed to have I think an electronic crossover, at least in their words, so it should actually have an actual crossover circuit in it. And from listening, it seems certainly plausible. I have not seen the inside of this IEM. There is the guy who does the short bus mod, he's been inside of it, but unless I missed it recently when he spoke about being inside of it, he has not released any video showing the inside yet. And although when he did mention going into it, he specifically said 3 6mm drivers, even though what is claimed is the 8 and 2.6s. But anyway, I'm rambling on already. So here's the box. Artti R1. Just nothing special. A little bit of plain. You do have the graph on the back, if you can see that. And to my ears, it's a relatively accurate graph. And as you can see there, driver unit, 2 6mm titanium dome dynamic drivers, one 8mm beryllium plated dynamic driver. And the THD less than 3% at 1 kHz. I don't understand those ratings, because that, at least compared to like headphones and stuff, that seems surprisingly bad. But I do see that same rating on a lot of IEMs. So I don't know how they're getting that measurement. Sensitivity of 102 dB per milliwatt at 1 kHz, and then a normal 4-strand cable. Now with this, I believe the price is the same whether you get balanced or single-ended, but you do have an option to get a 4.4 balanced cable or just a standard 3.5 single-ended cable. Now as far as the box, that's it, nothing else on there. And just a typical plain box, slides open. Right, this will come up if I can get it up. Phrasing. Okay, the IEMs would normally be in there, and it is presented very nice. Like I kind of like the presentation. because you would have the IMs in there. You get your little instruction manual for, I don't know what, a little product certificate. I guess that means something. A little registration form. I don't know exactly what this gets you. Oh, okay. So that's interesting. It says you get support for 1 year after sales. So that's actually reassuring. I don't recall seeing any sort of support, especially for an entire year, kind of in writing with any budget IM before. So yeah, so you got repair, return or exchange, all that stuff. So that's actually really nice. I did not know that. Okay. And then, just like the T10, you have your little case in here. And that's it. Just, okay. So, alright. So you got your little case there. And I'll bring it aside. This is the T10. As you can see, they're pretty much the same exact thing. I mean, they are the same exact thing. And what you get in here, you open it up, and again I have the 4.4, and pretty much with anything, if they give you the option, if you have something that can use the 4.4, I would recommend getting the 4.4 or getting balanced. In my opinion, it's just a better listening experience. So anyway, you get the cable. Now, this cable, I want to compare it to the T10 cable because it's not a terrible cable, but it was kind of a letdown considering the cable you get with the T10. But anyway, so you get this cable, and as you can see, got the balance one. You get some tips, and you get kind of, let's see, I'll open the black ones. These are just kind of like your standard run-of-the-mill. They're kind of small bore tips. They almost remind me of the type of tips you see with like the triple and stuff. But alright, so you got that. Now these are the tips that I actually like on a lot of stuff. I can't remember what they're called. But as you can see, you got the black stem, a decent sized bore, and they're not extremely long. So it kind of, for the most part, keeps the end of the nozzle close to your ear. So, alright, so you get that. And then you get the IM itself. These are the R1s. They look actually big, but they fit in the ear really well, and they don't stand out anywhere near to the level that something like the Legato stood out. Like, if anybody remembers that, like the Legato is physically smaller, yet somehow sticks out much further and can look a little awkward, especially if you use certain tips, and my preferred tips make them stick out extremely far. These are made from aluminum. They're built very nice. Like, I think I'm really happy with the look. I kind of like the color. This green matches my Jordan 11s. I have the emerald green ones, and this kind of matches really nice, so I do like these with the Jordans. I mean, that's kind of a little I don't know, a little specific, but it was something I noticed, and so whenever I wear those, I'm definitely throwing these in my ear. I don't know how I feel about that little design there. Just kind of gaudy for no reason. I almost kind of wish they would have just rounded that off, left the whole thing green. Maybe did like a painted design or something very simple on there, just kind of in the same style where they have the writing there. As you can see, it does label left and right, R1 Artti. Left side, Artti R1 at left. Matter of fact, that is kind of interesting. Artti R1, R1 Artti. I haven't noticed that before. Anyway, so there's the left and right, and as you can see, I am using the stock tips. These ended up for me sounding the best because, well, I'll get into that in a minute, because I do kind of want to start comparing size first, fit, comfort, and then I'll get into the sound. Now, as far as comfort and fit, for me, they fit great. They're extremely comfortable. Like, I got no irritation at all, no matter how long I wear these, and I've worn these for hours on end without issue. So I think as far as comfort, they knocked it out of the park. It's great, especially when compared to something like this Legato here. These things, like, if you can see, like, they're kind of smaller, or the R1s are bigger, but when you go from the side, it's like not even close. Like, look at that. And these things stick out of the ear so far, and these tips I have don't help, but these tips also make these sound the best for me. So fit and comfort knocked it out of the park. Now when you compare it to something, oh my god, I cannot remember the name of these. The Kaiwi or something like that. These are the HBB triple in IMs or multiple dynamics in here. These were another ones I kind of wanted to compare. Now I love the looks of these. I still think these may be some of the best looking, best built IMs I've come across under $100, and these are roughly the same price. They kind of be, although there was a while you could get these, there was a sale going, and I got a second pair just for my son because he kind of loved the sound of them. Oh no, I'm sorry, it wasn't these, but the sale part, I did get a second pair of these, but that's not what I got him. There was a sale going for these, and it was like $25 on Amazon for a while. These things, I don't know if people aren't buying them because they do fit weird. If, like, some people, they just don't fit. Some people, they do fit. If you're one of the lucky people that these fit and they're comfortable, like, especially at that deal, these are a bargain. But again, these are hit and miss. These will fit anybody, I imagine. They're just normal shaped, very smooth, very contoured. Like, again, they knocked it out the park with fit, comfort, shape, build quality. There was something else I wanted to compare it to. Of course I don't have it. Okay, so all that, again, great. No issues there. Now, get back to the cable for a second. Now, these are the Artti T10s. The planar IMs. Ugly. Just a plain cheap plastic build. This is kind of off-white cream color. But incredible sound. Super cheap. And the cable, again, I got balanced with this one as well, but this cable, it looks nice. It's a little bit thick. It's soft. Like, it hangs well. This cable, even though you would think it would be exactly the same, like, look at the ends there, and then you got, like, it's looks like it should be identical, right? But for some reason, like, this is nice, soft, it hangs, like, it just swings well. This is a little stiffer, a little more plasticky feeling. And in my opinion, if you're gonna sit here and you're gonna make these all fancy and you're gonna go through the trouble of making that nice silver shine outline there, why wouldn't you pair it with the silver cable? So you got something matching going on. So now instead you have the silver, you have the dark green, but then they give you this kind of dirty copper color cable. Like, it's just weird. Like, it seems, and it, like, you look at it and you think, man, they should be the same cable, but it just seems thinner, feels a little cheaper, doesn't quite hang and swing as well as this one. I don't know if there's variation in the cables, and maybe some are like this, some aren't. I don't know. I kind of doubt that though, but I just think they would have been better served just keeping the same cable as the T10s and using it with this. It looks like a better combo, and it just feels better. It's even if it's just to the eye, it's a more premium looking cable. So if they ever change anything with these, and the first thing they should do is maybe swap out the cables and include this silver cable. Okay, so we got all the comfort and cosmetic stuff out the way. I want to try to make this video under an hour, so we're gonna hop into what I think of the sound. Now, I have seen other reviews. I've seen people praise them. I've seen people kind of complain too much bass, they're too warm, the bass is a little sloppy. And then other people, a perfect amount of bass. Everybody seems to kind of agree that the bass is missing, like kind of squishy in a way. So I'm gonna try to elaborate on that when I get to that part. But as far as just a quick beginning summary and overall idea of the sound, I would liken them more to like a Sennheiser HD6XX 650. Like the mids on these nice and smooth, well balanced. The highs are there, but they're not in your face. They're never offensive. It's just a smooth, pleasant experience that has technicalities to it. Like, it's, for me, especially, like, I've gone back and forth. I've tried the 6XX, the 58X, the 600, the 660S, and there are some of the, like, what I use a lot, and just going back and forth. And when I put these in, like, there's a lot of times, like, they really do sound like the 6XX. And even the technicalities are pretty close. Like, when you consider the price gap, again, they're IEMs. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not a perfect one-to-one match, but that's the type of sound you get. Smooth, pleasant, nothing offensive, a little boosted in the bass, specifically kind of lower mid bass area. Like, they're right on the edge of trying to lean towards fun but relaxing. And personally, I kind of love that style of sound. I don't always want, like, I most of the time don't want something in your face, aggressive. I would mainly, especially out walking or working, I just want something I can put in, enjoy, not get a headache from, not be too intense, not force me to pay too much attention to it. Like, I really do love this type of tuning. So that makes me very happy, and it's originally thinking, oh man, these are kind of trying to do what the legato was trying to do. Now, but going back and forth, you really start to pick up that they're kind of two completely different animals. Whereas the legato, I can't remember, I think this is, pretty sure it's just two dynamic drivers, one like 11-inch or 11 millimeter and another 6 maybe. But in the bass you can definitely tell, because there's a lot of authority in here, and when you really feed this power, the bass really has some punch to it. has some good technicalities. It's very much present, tight, detailed, but these are kind of, especially in comparison, these are much more V-shaped. These have a lot more going on in the treble, in the upper mids, like the tail end of vocals and stuff. Like you can tell there's an emphasis there, and I almost liken these. Oh no, I'm not gonna make that comparison because there's kind of not, like, there's almost, in comparison, it's like you listen to these for a while and you don't really notice the grain and stuff, but when you go back and forth between these two, these almost have like a grainy edge to vocals. And even though I don't find these offensive or anything in any way, and I do enjoy these, I have a lot of fun listening to these, when you go back and forth, again, it's like these are kind of like the 650s, 6XXs. Nice and smooth. They're almost perfectly balanced with that little bit of boost in the end, at least for my taste. And going back and forth, it makes the boost in the treble upper mid-range stand out on these, and you do pick up a little bit of the grain that's hidden in there. So as far as technicalities between these two, it's very close because of the elevated, like, upper mid-range treble. Your initial thoughts are the legato is a more technical, more resolving IM, but when you start going back and forth, and again you get used to that difference, there's not all too much there. The only time you really see or you really hear a technical advantage with the legato is when it comes to the bass, because these things, I would imagine, because of the larger dynamic driver for the bass, it's capable of being more present, more powerful, have more body to it, and it just seems to dig a little deeper. And because of that, it really does seem like it's more resolving. These, especially when you get stuff under 30 hertz, these kind of get like a squishy sound, a soft sound, like, especially, like, it's really apparent if you don't have these powered properly. Like, the best these sound are when I'm powering off of a desktop amp. Like, they do get much more resolving, they get tighter, the bass actually starts losing that characteristic of being kind of sloppy that I do see online. They do get a little punchy, a little speedy, a little quick, and the bass gets much more detailed. But most portable stuff, you're gonna notice things below 30 hertz can get a little squishy sounding. I don't know how else to explain it any better. Like, it feels like it's given, or sounds like it's kind of given all it's got, and it just can't do it. It can't push out the body and move the air quick enough or forceful enough to get that detail out. I guess I don't know if it's because of the smaller driver or because of the cavity in there. I really don't know, because I have, what is it? It's a single driver IM. I can't see it from here. The Opal OH2. Tiny little single driver, but the bass in that thing is incredibly tight. It's punchy, super detailed, but it's in this tiny little IM. Like this, I don't know the whole reason. I don't know, maybe it's a crossover kind of choking that driver out, not letting it get the power it needs, and it's diverting. It's like too evenly spreading that power between the three drivers instead of letting that specific driver get everything it needs to do the bass as it should. But most of the time it's not, especially when you got enough power, you're not going to notice much stuff. It just only really becomes apparent when you're listening to stuff with a lot of sub bass, and more so again when it's underpowered. This, that's not so much of an issue as it is with these. Now, I would kind of target these to two different people. Like, they do very similar things, but the sound is very different. Again, these, like, I think these are like someone who wants a lot of bass but still wants a little bit of crispness and spice up top. These 6XX super smooth, you want technicalities, you want bass, but what you really want are the mids. Like, these are, for me, like mids. That's the most impressive thing on these. Just like the Sennheiser series, like, they sound so natural in the mids, so balanced. Like, I love the mids on these. I really, really do. It's super pleasant. It might be, even on this table, like, I'm about to bring out I already showed the T10 and that other triple one. Like, this was another one again I also wanted to compare it to, but these are kind of the same but opposites in a sense. Like, these have great, super technical. The bass on these much quicker, much tighter, punchier. Again, the bass in these is more detailed than the bass in these, but you also have more energy up top, more energy above it. Like, these are a more, I don't want to say they are more technical, but I guess because they have a more technical low end, that makes them overall more technical. But when it comes to the mids and treble, they're kind of on even footing. It's just, again, this is more of a relaxed tuning, whereas this is slightly more in your face. They're kind of, like, close towards the EA500, except maybe toned back a little bit, a little more warmth added to it, whereas this, again, HD600 or HD6XX 650, smooth, well balanced, but good detail, especially when properly powered. So it's kind of like a pick your poison type of thing. Now, I would liken these probably to something like the triple in Melee, that thing. I don't even think that's sold anymore, but this kind of seems like a better version of that as far as the tuning. Like, nothing offensive, just good, enjoyable music. And this, in my opinion, does it better. And I love the Melee. Love the Melee. But these just do it better for the simple fact that the tuning is not as dark. And as far as, like, I would argue soundstage, the separation are better on these than something like the Melee. Now, the separation, again, it's very good, but it doesn't compete with the separation on this soundstage. Roughly similar, probably a little bigger on this, but the separation, these are very, very precise, and you can definitely tell there's some quality stuff going on with this. The separation is probably on par with the legato, but they're just, again, it's a different listening experience than both of those. If somebody likes the 6XX 650, to me, the Artti R1 would be a perfect budget IEM for them. It just kind of comes down to the price, because Artti also has this T10 that I still use a lot. I love them. Dirt cheap, under $50. You get that lovely cable, you get some decent tips, get the little case. None of that really matters. But the sound that these can produce for that price is like, these two are more similar. These two are more similar than these two. Like, these are kind of closer in tune. There's still plenty of bass there and stuff, but it's some stuff still has the potential to be a little more energetic, a little more, I don't know, kind of intense. It's never gets, especially with these, it never gets to the point where it's fatiguing or you're gonna get a headache or anything, but it's just more energetic. But these things still astound me because they're incredibly technical. They have good authoritative bass, especially for a planar, a budget one at that. It's just ugly, and again, it's slightly different style. You want something that looks good, smooth, relaxing, there you go. You just care about having some quality audio. You want to hear all the details in your music, but not have anything fatiguing. There you go. You're just going to have to sacrifice on looks. Sound stage between these two, I would probably argue sound stage is bigger on the R1. These do have pretty decent sound stage. I don't know how much of it is just because there's 3 drivers in there, so it's kind of making things seem like they're coming from further out in different places. That does also help with the separation, and that is why I don't mind the bass, because even though, like, when they're underpowered and you got a song that's doing a lot below 30, like in that 30 hertz range, throwing sub bass, and you can tell it's getting a little soft and it's losing some of that. It never starts messing with the mids. It never starts messing with the highs. It doesn't mess anything up. You just lose a little bit at the bottom, and it's not terrible. It's certainly not terrible. It's acceptable, but it just doesn't impact anything else. And once you get back into the frequencies, it does well. Like, once you hit that, like, the 40 hertz, 50 hertz, it starts getting right back to performing well. And then again, when you put power to it, like, this thing can get some really good rumbling going. It can get a little bit punchy, although as far as punchy wise, it never quite reaches the level of this or the legato. Doesn't reach the punchiness of the EA500. Let's see, maybe kind of gets close to the T3 Plus as far as punchiness, but even then, I think it might be a little bit behind. But when you start feeding it power, the bass really wakes up. And for me, like, I keep seeing, like, again, I've already mentioned this, that I see people say there's just too much in the low mids, upper bass region, and I don't really find issue there. Like, even looking at the graph and stuff, like, again, it seems more in line with something like what the 650 6XX does. Like, it's within that range to me. It just happens to not roll off once you hit 100 hertz. Like, up down there, there's more going on here than that. But the mids, the treble, very, very similar. And I just have a hard time seeing somebody that wouldn't enjoy these or find them pleasant, or who would think really much of anything negative unless they're being extremely overly critical, which I guess is what videos like this is for. But it's just super pleasant, and at the price, 75 and below, like, I kind of like it. It's just, these make it hard at that price, and to an extent, these kind of make it hard, especially if you can get these under the $40–45, which you can now sometimes. Like, it does make these a little hard. If these weren't like hit and miss with fit, I mean, I'd probably still be making videos on this once a week saying buy it, buy it, buy it. But it's such a gamble with fit. Like these, kind of worth it. They're just not, as far as technicalities, I don't know if they can compete with this, especially when you're talking about, well, especially when you're considering the price difference, because again, these are more expensive than those. And I really wish these would have been a little cheaper. Like these at $50, I think would just be incredible, because they sound good for the $75 MSRP. They're built great for that price. They don't require any special tips to really get the sound where it needs to be like some of this other stuff did. Although I do want to mention that some tips, like the thin bore, the small bore tips that were with these, kind of ruined them for me. They just took away way too much of the bass for some reason, and it just did not like them. They kind of congested everything. And then I tried stuff like these, and it was just odd. Something just didn't sound right. The bass was a little wonky. I don't even know how else to explain it. These tips on this were actually pretty good, but again, I started getting like, it seemed like I lost some of the upper bass, mid bass a little bit, and gained sub bass, but it didn't actually make the sub bass substantially tighter or anything, or fix it, so it kind of ruined a little bit of the smooth experience that I get with these stock tips. Like again, I'm perfectly fine with an IEM that sounds like the 650. Like that gives me that nice, smooth, enjoyable experience. Like, and again, I should stress the mids more, because the mids are where these shine. Vocals sound extremely natural. There's no harshness. There's not exceptional detail in the mids, but there's good detail. You're gonna hear everything. You'll hear lip smacking. You'll hear the people taking their breaths that you might not hear in other things. Like, I do think I get more detail in the mids than I do in the legato, than I do possibly even in the T3 Plus. Like, there's good details to be had here, and most of it doesn't start shining until you start adding power. So it's certainly a quality, enjoyable IEM. Now, what else? For the most part, that's it. Again, I can just do a rough overall summary of just this. It's a completely very smooth, enjoyable IEM. The sound stage is not the largest, but it's certainly good. A little bit outside your ears. Instrument placement is pretty good. There's good separate. There's actually well above average separation with these. Like the instruments and everything, they're easily distinguishable. They stand out from each other. Nothing's crowding anything else, which is hard to say for a lot of stuff, at least to the level that this separates things. And everything sounds natural. The highs for me are almost how I prefer them. Nothing extremely in your face, nothing fatiguing, just smoothness, but all the detail is there. Now, it's just kind of down to what do you want, because again, these things are such an amazing value. It's hard to justify. Like, if you didn't have one of these two, and let's say someone's trying to decide, okay, well, I want to give Artti a shot. Should I go with the T10, or should I spend a little bit more and get the better built IEM? Like, that's kind of a hard decision. Like, there's such a huge price gap, but then there's also such a huge difference in build quality. So again, it's personal taste. What I would love to see like in a perfect world, make like a Artti R10, but build it like this, sell it for 40 bucks, and then make a Artti T1, but build it like this, keep this sound, and charge a little more. Like, I would love this sound and something like this. I believe that might be it. I showed the cable, showed the tips, spoke about it. Let me bring out that graphic in on the back of the box, because, like, I'm sure, hopefully there are other people have measurements, but if you can see, like that, that's what I hear. Like, it does sound like that, and it's very, I don't know, I find it very pleasant, very smooth. There's nothing that stands out. Like, it's a well-balanced IM. It just needs, again, I really wish they would have went for it with a 10mm instead of an 8. Like, maybe use a 10, an 8, and a 6. Like, that's what I would have liked to see. Something for the mids. I don't know. I do love the mids so much on these. Maybe they should just leave it be. But I would have liked to have seen either a bigger driver for the bass, or maybe some adjustment to the crossover that allows more power to be delivered to the bass driver without impacting the other two drivers. Anyway, I personally, outside of that tiny little niggle with the bass, I have no complaints with these IMs. Lately, they have been kind of one of my most used IMs. Oh, I did forget to mention gaming. Like, they have good stereo imaging, and for gaming, I've been having a wonderful experience. Like, they seem to work really well. Like, I'm having no issue at all detecting footsteps, where shots are coming from, and playing just single player games. Like, it's been a very fun and engrossing experience. Like, the sound, it's almost theatric. Like, it is a big, just nice sound. The booms are there. They're not quite, I would still like to see some more punch and body there. But we're talking about a $75 and under IEM that's built beautifully. Amazing comfort. That really does have a lot of traits, a lot of similarities with the Sennheiser HD650 6XX. Like, there's, I almost want to say there's something special here, but it's more, there's something just very pleasant and enjoyable here. I don't think someone's going to buy these and their mind's going to be blown like I would think. Like, for these, you get these for the price, and you hear all that, the technicalities of them and everything. The tuning is there, so that stuff is super noticeable. You don't have to pay close attention. You're not going to immediately get lost in the music and then be like, oh my god, I hear this detail. The detail is there, and you're going to hear it before you get lost in the music. Whereas with these, you'll get lost into the music and then realize you're hearing details that are possibly outside of its price range. You're going to, like I mentioned with the lip smacking, like people taking the breath, you can hear just occasionally, like even in songs that I've never heard it before with other IEMs, like you can almost hear like someone's tongue peeling away from the roof of their mouth. Like, these had the potential to give you those details. The really only shortcoming as far as that would, again, is in the bass, which is oftentimes alleviated when you power them better. That's why, again, I'd recommend, if you're going to get these, get them balanced, because they do require a good amount of power to drive. They require every bit as much as these T10s, more than these, more than the legatos, which actually surprised me, because the legatos really needed some power to kind of get everything tight and working right. And alright, well, I'm kind of lost for words at this point. There was one other point I wanted to make, but I do not remember. So again, I went over gaming. The gaming's good with these. I thoroughly enjoy it. Sound stage I went over treble, mids, bass. Well, yeah, I don't know. If I think of it, I will add it on. We're 45 minutes in. I'm just rambling, repeating stuff. Thank you guys for watching. I hopefully can have more stuff to do, more videos. Things have been few and far between lately. I have been doing a lot of going back to headphones again. Like I mentioned, I've been mainly using my Sennheisers, especially after finding a pair of HD 660s for $14 at a Goodwill. That was just a hell of a find, so I've been kind of stuck with those for a little bit. And you know what some people might find impressive again is, like, I've been listening to those a lot over this past month and a half, and before then I was mainly messing with these IMs, so I've been listening to them a lot, listening to my 6XXs a lot, listening to the 5.8X a lot, and kind of doing some comparison. I'm getting used to their sound. They're all very good and very technical. They're all quality. And I go back to some IMs. I'm like, man, these IMs, I mean, I know they're good for the price, but they're not getting close. And surprisingly, again, these things, I put these in, and it's like I don't feel like I'm taking this huge step down in quality. Like, it's almost like, okay, very, very similar, especially coming from a 6XX to these, like the 660S to these. Very different in sound. 5.8X, more close. The 6XS, much more similar. So, anyway, that's my little story. Thank you guys for watching. Hopefully I can, again, get more of these videos out there, get some more stuff going. Appreciate y'all watching, all you guys that subscribe. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. This stuff's fun. I love doing this. I hope I have more content and more stuff to share with you guys. Again, thank you guys for watching. Hope everybody's having a wonderful day. Thank you.